Hi, welcome to this week's bonus clip. We recorded this as part of our rap pod following the Dragons v Leinster match, which you'll find on Apple, Spotify, and all the usual other places. Well, with less than a month left until Leinster's Champions Cup opener away to La Rochelle, how is our elite matchday 23 looking, and who has put their hands up over the opening weeks of the URC campaign? Now, often we might distinguish between who we'd select for our first pool match and who we might pick to play someone like La Rochelle. But for this campaign, they're one and the same. So I've asked this week's panelists, Conor Cronin and Jay Long, to help me come up with a selection. And Conor is going to start off by looking at the back line.
I think we're in a good spot now as internationals are starting to filter back to look at some of the quality that we have. Some of the players we know can do a job. Now, that said, before I get into naming anybody, I think there's a lot of players over the last few weeks who have put their hand up and said, I deserve to be looked at for this opportunity. I deserve my chance at a Champions Cup jersey. I think now, as of recording, we haven't seen this week's injury report, but I think Tommy O'Brien is definitely one of those. He has been in great form. He's really, really efficient going forward, but he's also been excellent on defence as well. And I think he's really put his hand up to say, I deserve being looked at. I think Jamie Osborne is another one for the exact same reasons, particularly his defence over the last few weeks. And that absolute cannon of a left boot. You can't call a left boot anything but a cannon anymore, apparently. And it's great because we have a few
cultured cannon
between himself and James Lowe and a couple of others. It's nice to have those available to us for exits, particularly considering our first matches against La Rochelle, and we're going to want to gain territory and gain it quick. I think realistically, when you come to it, assuming everything goes plain sailing for the next couple of weeks, assuming players play to the potential we know that they have, assuming that players play in the positions that they normally do and all that kind of thing, I think it's unlikely that we'd see either of them starting a game. I think the only one name that might stand out in my thoughts for the backs, I'm expecting Hugo Keenan will start at 15 for that game. I'm expecting for our wings we'll have James Lowe and Jimmy O'Brien. I think they're the two who are most likely, assuming everybody comes back fit, healthy, ready to go. It's the centres where few people might go, oh, you went there, did you? I don't think there's any doubt for co-captain Gary Ringrose, but it's Charlie Natai, I think, will get the 12 jersey, especially considering, Henshaw was carrying some kind of a knock or a niggle in the early part of the World Cup. He's not had a lot of time. He's not had a lot of minutes since then, and obviously none since the tournament finished for us. So I think that Charlie Natai will get the nod at 12 and should get the nod. I think the way he's played the last few weeks in particular, of anyone else, he's showed his experience, he's showed his quality. He's finally got the monkey off his back and got his first try. So I think it would be a really good call to have him there because of just how he's playing and how he's, I remember, I think it was his first or second game, and I was on the wrap for that, and we were talking about how he just didn't seem to quite know what his position, what his role was within the greater context. He knows full well what his role is now, and he's playing it very well. And then the halfbacks, we're assuming that Ross Byrne is the heir apparent, and Gibson Park will be back, and hopefully, I think either of the two lads, either Foley or Murphy, they've really stepped up the last couple of weeks, and there's that little bit of concern because both went off injured during the game against Dragons at the weekend. So there's a little bit of worry there. But I think either of them coming in to finish a game with Gibson Park having started. And I was only talking about Gibson Park during the week, actually, and he's just so bloody quick. You're looking at him tracking a field back and forth and back and forth. Like, I'd love to see what the GPS tracker is saying for his meters run, whatever about his meters made in contact or anything. How much distance must he be covering in 60, 70 minutes on the pitch? And I'm looking forward to having him back. I'm looking forward to, we talked on the Rap Pod about Ben Murphy's quick thinking for his quick tap in the first half of the Dragons game. And all that experience and all that awareness that Gibson Park has, purely just from time on the pitch and time with the players, and how much more aware he might be as a result of that. I'm looking forward to him being back in for those kinds of reasons. But yeah, they're my choice of backs as things currently stand.
Very good. And now we hand over to Jay to tell us about the pack.
Yeah, broadly, I don't think there's going to be any surprises here. Particularly in the front row, the names kind of pick themselves. So Porter, Sheehan, and Furlong for me starting that game for La Rochelle. Obviously, if that hooker name is Kelleher, no complaints whatsoever. Both of them had pretty fantastic campaigns in the World Cup. Over at Lucy, I suppose an honourable mention just for his time served so far. I think Jack Pyle has been superb for the first couple of games. And we're obviously kind of waiting to hear how Church is getting on after that unfortunate shoulder injury. But certainly Porter starting that game first and foremost, if not the first name on the sheet overall. And for Furlong, the backup will be Alatoa, who is a more than capable operator there. In the second row, over at tight head side, I'm gonna go James Ryan, because again, there's no way we're giving him that co-captaincy if he's not going to be on the sheet. But in the forward at the end, I'd love to see Joe McCarthy. I think he's shown more than Jason Jenkins in the first couple of games. I think he's gone off. He's done his dues in the World Cup squad. He looked well against Romania. He's looked fantastic in the game against Dragons just gone. And I have no doubt that we're just going to see more and more of him over the next couple of weeks. So if I was Leo Cullen and Jack Nienaber and Andy Goodman, I'd be saying more of that sort, more of that, and plenty of it. But obviously we have Ross Maloney there too, who could step in, but absolutely no complaints there either. But I would really love to see Joe get that nod against La Rochelle. And then for the back row, I have two versions. I have one that's from my heart, and the other that's from the head. So I would personally love to see a back row of, say, Deegan at 6, Doris at 8, and Penny at 7. I would love that based on the first couple of games. Plenty of options there with like Ryan Baird maybe at 6, or obviously Josh coming back in at 7. But I think the names on the sheet on the day will very, very likely be, we're going to have Doris at 6, Cronin at 8, Conan at 8, and Josh probably coming in at 7. I think that's probably what we're going to see. And look, there's absolutely no complaints about that. That's an absolutely stellar back row. But I think those guys, the likes of Deegan and Penny in particular, I would love to see them on the bench and get some serious time in the big games in Europe this season, because they've more than earned it, in my opinion. So that's the pack for me.
Yeah,
and it's worth saying, it was so surprising last year when Scott Penny made his first European appearance, and you're kind of looking, going, "Nah, that can't be right." I think, as you say, he's really earned the right to be there.
No, there's no question. I mean, the what makes this so difficult is the names you have to leave out. Because I mean, it's like I'm after changing my bench about 50 times based on what you guys have said, but that's great. That's what we want. The bench, I'm looking at it like in the pack. Now I'm assuming everyone's fit. I know Church is out for a while, But I'm just, and I know we're talking about a match that's just about a month's time, but I'm going to put Church's name down, just kind of as an aspiration. But Jack Boyle, as you said, has done really well. Of course, we might have Ed Byrne. He's out for a while as well, but he's in the mix. He'd be in the mix there as well. But so I've got obviously Kelleher. If Sheehan starting would be 16, then Church, Ala Otoa 18. You start with Joe Mack. I think that's the right call. I think Maloney has been he could have been in the Ireland squad. He could be one of the captains of the whole team right now. He could be starting. He could just be nobody would bat an eyelid if he was any of those things. But even in this, we look at Joe McCarthy and the ability he's shown. He showed us bringing it to the line. We saw counter rucking. We saw the offloading, all this stuff. And he's also good on defensive mauls as well. He gets in, he gets stuck in. He's not afraid to overturn their ball as well. And all those he brings, and we can see all that, in the starting team. And I think one of the elements here is someone who's not in this team that we're not talking about is Jenkins. And we would have thought when he came to the club that he would be pretty much automatically in the 23. He'd be he's that South African beef we were looking for to get it, but we sort of have our own in the end. And so Joe McCarthy and Maloney, you definitely put them both ahead of him, I think, at this stage.
I was just going to throw in, it's great that, we've got homegrown locks, and we don't need to, as you've said, we don't need to go looking further afield. We can grow them ourselves, and we can train them right to be ready for these big games or the step up to international or whatever else it might be.
Yeah, and of course in the back row we know we've got all this. So many choices there, I think Deegan and Penny have both shown they're more than ready to start in Europe. And of course there's good old Reece Ruddock as well in the background, and also
whose birthday it is today, so happy 412th birthday to Reece Ruddock.
Exactly. It doesn't look a day over 411, but no, it's great, and it's great to have those choices. But if you're going with a Doris, Josh, and Conan back row, then I say I would put Baird in that number 20 jersey. I think we'd probably need him coming on. And then for the backs, I'd have Luke as the sub. But we've all these options for out half, but I'd still go for Frawley as the 22. I think that just gives us so many more options. We know that he can come in. It might mean that we're looking for 80 minutes out of Ross, but if it's a big game against somebody like La Rochelle, that we're going to be looking for that anyway. So to have Frawley there as backup and able to come on at other positions in the back line as well. And then it was like, I think, bang on. It's come to its stage where it's a choice between Charlie and Robbie, even if Robbie didn't have injury concerns. I think that's how well Charlie has done since he's been with us. But if he's starting, I'd have Robbie in the 23, a fit Robbie in the 23 jersey, and that's a hell of a bench to come on. So
I think it's interesting that you've gone for Frawley, because I was thinking the same thing, because I think as much as Harry was head and shoulders above his opposition playing against Edinburgh last week, I still think that Frawley gives much more scope and much more option to your 23, because you're not, you're looking at a player who can step in and cover a couple of positions and cover 10 very well. And I think we need to see more of him at 10, particularly if the international selectors are looking at him as a 10.
Yeah, because when you only have three backs, it never really made a lot of sense to have two of those spots given up to specialist positions. So if you can afford a bit of variety, and we know Frawley can do a job in Europe, even at out half. So it'd be almost crazy maybe not to go for him, but it'd be interesting to see what they do anyway. That's my bench, and I think we've done pretty well with the squad there. It's always for debate. Yeah, go on, Jay.
It's a very relieving to see that you've gone for a very moral 5-3.
I know. I was considering an 8-0.
The dark side,
That's it. Well, that might come down the line.
We do have Jacques now, so you never know. It could be an 8-0 split or something similar.
That's it. Yeah, he'll be bringing a lot of innovations. All right, so you never know what's going to happen. Right, listen, we're gonna leave it there. Thanks, lads. That's it for our bonus clip this week. Many thanks again for tuning in. As ever, please be sure to comment, like, share, and subscribe wherever you can, and follow us on all our social media channels.